Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Jerome. I'm a student of Dr. Alabastri's working on optimizing nanoparticle-enhanced membrane distillation setups that are excited using LEDs. So as a quick that's a bit of a mouthful, so let's break it down term by term. Why is desalination important? Well, over 780 million people across the globe lack access to reliable sources of clean drinking water, with even more only having sporadic access throughout the year. Water itself is not uncommon on the planet, but the vast majority of them are too rich in salts to be safe for human consumption. Removing salt from unpotable water largely helps solve this water crisis. Whenever you're talking about desalination, there are generally two different methods that people are referring to. One of them is reverse osmosis, where you take a water permeable membrane and you push the water through, leaving the salt ions behind. And the other is thermal-based desalination, where you boil water off, recondense it, and use that as your distillate or drinking water. Pressure-based desalination methods are relatively energetically cheap. The problem is that they're bulky. They require large multi-stage desalination plants with pressure generators that are capable of pushing things up to tens or hundreds of bars, which isn't really convenient for a lot of these smaller communities that are hit hardest by water scarcity. Thermal-based desalination requires a very hefty upfront energy investment, something on the order of 626 kilowatt hours per meter cubed, but it's a lot easier to implement in a lot of these smaller communities. So the goal with thermal-based desalination is to find a way to recycle as much of the enthalpy of vaporization as possible in order to make your system more efficient. And that's exactly what we do. So a quick overview of our actual physical setup for these desalination machines. We have a membrane that's placed between a feed or salty water channel and a distillate or clean water channel. This membrane is hydrophobic, but it does allow steam to pass through it because it's porous. We coat the top of the membrane of the feed channel with around 10 microns of carbon black nanoparticles and shine light on the carbon black nanoparticles. This causes a plasmonic-like resonance within them, heats up the entire surroundings. Water starts to evaporate on the surface, moves down into the distillate, and when it recondenses in the distillate, it deposits whatever heat it had from the enthalpy of vaporization back into the distillate flow. Then, as that heat is traveling down the distillate channel, it comes into contact with a heat exchanger that puts it in thermal equilibrium with the feed. It sees that the feed is always colder as it's moving over to the left, and most of the heat is basically sucked right back into the feed to continue the cycle. And by doing that over and over and over again with time, you can build up a lot of heat within your system and retain it, allowing you to be extremely efficient with your desalination methods. Additionally, these thermal oscillators can actually be coupled to one another, meaning that you no longer just have to keep it in one feed and distillate channel. You can extend it over very many channels and basically create a much larger bank to store your heat in, meaning that you can set up multiple of these desalination pairs, so to speak, that are coupled to one another over a much wider area, meaning that you can get a much wider flux out of it. So we use COMSOL and the Kabla algorithm basically to optimize this preliminary thermal desalination model that we've been proposing. We have to use these various optimization methods because a lot of what we're solving for here is highly nonlinear with interdependent parameters that need to be addressed. So we find generally that this is the best way we can use to go about it. Our optimized systems produce a fresh water flux of around 0.7 liters per hour with a energy consumption that amounts to 110 kilowatt hours per every cubic meter of water we produce. Now, the best waste heat recovery desalinators have an energy consumption around 190 kilowatt hours per meter cube. So this is very exciting to see such a large improvement using these coupled thermal oscillators over what people conventionally do. But yeah, in any case, that's what I've been working on the past couple of weeks. I'm happy to take any questions. If anyone has them, feel free to contact me on the email listed in the program. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.